Hello and welcome back to Introduction to Physics. Today we're going to be doing a lab on electrostatics. So you're going to be wanting to go to Canvas and then Modules and then Labs, and then it's the Unit 1 lab on electricity and magnetism. And then when you open up that document down at the bottom of the Microsoft Excel worksheet, click on the tab that says 20 Fun with Tape. So Lab 20, Fun with Tape. Okay, once you're there, let's do the pre-lab questions. So pre-lab question number 1 is what's the purpose? So if you'll go down into the lab, you'll be able to find that and just cut and paste. Okay, then number 2 is what's the safety instructions for the lab? This is a very safe lab, so there's no safety instructions. Question number 3. How many different types of electrical charge is there, and then what are their names? And then also I'd like you to know what causes one type of charge and what causes the other kind of charge. What's the particle that is responsible for those charges? Question number 4, what happens when two positive charges are brought close to each other? What happens when two negative charges are brought close to each other? What happens when a positive and a negative charge are brought close to each other? Okay, question 5 is what does conservation of electric charge mean? Okay, question number 6, this one you're going to have to find on the internet. Find out what the electrical properties of rubber are. So when you rub rubber up against something, does it want to give up electrons or does it want to take electrons? Alright, so now we're going to go down into the lab itself. The materials that you're going to need are quite varied for this, but you should be able to find them around your house. You're going to need a boatload of Scotch tape. So you're going to need a lot of Scotch tape for this lab. You're going to need a pencil in order to be able to hang the Scotch tape off of it. Okay, you're going to need some paper towels. You're going to need a plastic tube, like a pen. The outer housing of a pen is made of plastic. Need a piece of glass. So maybe like a Coke bottle or something like that. You're going to need a piece of wood, so a wooden pencil should work for that. A piece of iron, like a nail, a piece of aluminum, and then a magnet. So a lot of little things you're going to need for this lab. Alright, let's go down to the procedure. And it says to take a piece of tape 15 to 20 centimeters long, so about that long, and put it down on the table. So you're going to press it onto a table and then peel the tape off quickly, and then describe what happens when you take that piece of tape, so it'll be hanging from your fingers, and then you're going to bring it up close to other objects and describe what happens. What does that piece of tape want to do? And then also, how does the distance between so then the next part of the lab is to make a second piece of tape as you did before, and then bring the second piece of tape close to the first piece of tape that you made. What's going to happen? And then also try it at different distances to see what's the effect of distance on the interaction between the two pieces of tape. Okay, now we're going to go down to part 2 of the lab, and we're going to press a piece of tape on the table. You're going to label it as tape B for bottom. So you can write on the piece of tape as it's stuck to the table with the letter B. You might want to do it with a crayon. Okay, now press a second piece of tape on top of the first one, and then label that as T for the top piece of tape. Now you're going to grab them both and pull them off the table. So they're stuck together, and then you're going to pull them off the table together, and then pull them apart. You might need to fold over the pieces of tape to have like a little handle that you can grab. Okay, question A, what would happen if two top pieces of tape are brought close to each other? So you need to make two of the top ones and then hold them close to each other and see what happens. Okay, then take two bottom tapes and hold them close to each other. So what happens? Okay, what happens if a top tape is brought close to a bottom tape? Okay, part D is a top tape is brought close to a little piece of paper. So you're going to take just a regular piece of paper and tear it up into tiny little pieces of paper. Okay, and then find out what happens if a top tape is brought close to that little piece of paper. Can you pick it up, for example? What about if you do it with a bottom piece of tape and you bring it close to a little piece of paper? What happens? Okay, and then also try it just with two pieces of paper. So if you take a little piece of paper and you hold it up close to another little piece of paper, can you lift it up? Okay, then part 3 of the lab says to describe a procedure you could use to determine if an unknown object is charged or neutral. So how could you tell, like, a little piece of paper is charged or neutral by doing something with pieces of tape? So describe that in part 3. Okay, question number 4 says, is neutral a type of charge? So if something is electrically neutral, would you describe that as having charge? So explain your answer. Okay, I'm going to stop this tape or this video right here, and when we come back we're going to start with part 5 of the lab.